up in St. Augustine, so probably when I was like 17, almost 18, she finally kicked him out and was like, you need to go. And I'm pretty sure she was helping him with bills. He only pays like $500 a month on that house in St. Augustine. It's a real old house.
So he's had that house for a while?
He's renting it.
Okay.
So yeah, he was living up there for a while, and he had a job. And then he would come down occasionally, and they would try and work things out, and then blah, 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 and he'd start drinking. And so she would kick him back out. He would go up there, and it was just kind of like a vicious cycle. And then about a year ago, she kicked him out for good because he just wouldn't stop drinking. And then finally one day he decided that he was just going to quit for himself, and that was it. And then he quit, and he was sober for a while, and Mom let him move back. And so he was here for like 11 months. And then just like a week and a half before it happened, she decided that she didn't want to be with him anymore. She loved him, but she didn't know if she could be with him. So she told him to go back up there. She needed her space to just figure things out. But I really didn't think, I don't know, she kind of told me that she just didn't want to be with him anymore.
So he wasn't drinking at that point?
No, he wasn't. But a couple days before this happened, he had started drinking.
Again.
Yeah.
What were his episodes of drinking? I mean, was he violent? Was he just lazy?
No, he wasn't. It's hard to. He was very different when he drank. I would know the signs, but if a normal person wouldn't be able to tell.
Really?
Oh yeah, no, not at all.
You guys were up on it.
Yeah, I knew every little sign. And if you said he did this mean thing to my mom, where if she said something about it, he would make her feel so stupid, and he would manipulate her to the point where she actually thought that she was wrong, and she would feel so stupid. And he never did that to me until one day that right before she really kicked him out the last final time, he did that to me. And I actually started to believe that I was wrong. And then I was like, wait, this is what he's doing to her. And I was like, no. Get out.
What would he convince you guys that you're wrong about?
About him drinking.
Oh,
every time my mom or I would confront him, he would just get so angry really fast. And he was never violent, but he would just start yelling and how could you do this and blah blah blah. And he'd get so angry.
And how did Nathan fit into this? What did he?
Nathan would just go hide in his room.
Okay.
And then sometimes my dad would get on his case about stuff, and he'd get really mad and angry. Most of the time my brother would just plug in headphones, but my dad and my brother never got along. My dad could never get over the fact that my brother wasn't normal, and he just couldn't really deal with that. My mom was very patient. She was always really good about it, but my dad never could really grasp the fact that he couldn't be normal, even if he tried.
Right.
And I had trouble too, but I wasn't nearly as bad as my dad. I kind of understood, but I also knew that he could try and be better. Not normal, but he could be better. But he didn't. So I always blamed him for that. But my dad never could get that. And they always used to argue about stuff. And my dad would just get so heated and angry. And sometimes they would have screaming matches. Never violent.
Never physical.
No, ever. I mean, sometimes my brother would flick him off, and my dad would get in his face and don't you ever do that again, or blah blah blah. But
no, pretty normal stuff.
Yeah.
How was he through school though? I mean, he made it through FPC.
Barely. I honestly have no idea how he graduated. He's a smart kid. He is so smart. Oh my God! But he wouldn't apply himself to anything, job, school, nothing. He somehow passed high school. I don't really know. And then he was going to start college, and he couldn't drive then. He didn't get his license until a year ago. And this was a couple of years ago. My mom would drive him to the school before she went to work in the morning, drop him off with his laptop, and he was supposed to be going to class, but instead he was sitting in the hallway playing on his laptop all day long.
Oh,
and she didn't know this forever. And so he just was doing that, and she tried, I think 2 whole semesters she tried to get him to go, and it just wasn't working. He was failing, and so...
So he was enrolled in regular classes though?
Yeah.
At that point?
Mm-hmm.
And then did she get him enrolled in something else? Or?
No. He wouldn't, he just refused. He wouldn't do anything.
So he didn't graduate, or he did?
He graduated from high school, not from college.
Okay. Okay, so he made it through high school on normal classes?
Yeah. I think when he was younger, he used to take some... He used to have meetings with one of the counselors or something. But I think he always took regular classes.
Do you remember the days, did he have a lot of behavioral stuff at home? Did your mom have to battle with
when
teachers?
when he was younger, he was always he wasn't getting into a lot of fights, but one time he, like, threw a chalk eraser at some kid and got in trouble, and I know kids would bully him really bad just because he was different. So, I mean, sometimes he would stick up for himself. One time he ran away from the school and ran to my grandma's house when he was over at Indian Trails or whatever. High school, he didn't really get into a whole lot of trouble in high school. I don't think he really ever did. He got better about that, but he would kept to himself.
Was your mom pretty open with towards the later part? I mean, obviously when you're old enough to, I hear you and your mom were close as far as friendship wise.
Mm-hmm. She would tell me certain things about how she didn't really know what else to do with Nathan, especially in, like, the last year or so, and I would try and help her and as much as I could, because sometimes I was just like, we'll just, like, kick him out and boot him out, but then other times I was like, yeah, no, I don't really know what else that you can do. So she turned to her brother, and she had counseling
for herself.
Yeah, she was going to Deborah.
What are some of the things she tried?
Well, she constantly was writing documents for Nathan, like, if you don't do this, this, and this, I'm taking away your laptop, or I'm taking away your phone. And she would, like, make him sign it. And at one point, she had the documents and signed it, had taken away his laptop. And then one day, he, like, called the cops, and the cops showed up because he was saying that was his property and that she had it, but she had the documents, but I think he stole the document and, like, chopped it up. So I don't think she ever found it. So I don't really remember what happened with that. How
long ago was that?
A year and a half ago.
Okay, so not that long.
No. And so it was just a constant battle. She was taking things away, and then he would, like, get birthday money, and then he'd send away for a tablet, and that would come in the mail. He would have that. He would just, like, show up with laptops that he got from his friends. She was just so aggravated. She didn't know what to do. So she would take that away, and then she put his bed out. Finally, she put his bed out on the porch, which is, like, screened in, but no AC, so it's hot. And she put his bed out there, and she told him that he had to sleep out there if he wasn't going to abide by the house rules. Well, we thought that he was just going to, like, sleep inside on the couch, but he actually stayed out there, which was a surprise to both of us. And then he still was not abiding by any of the rules, and he would fight my mom about everything. Everything that she asked him to do, he would make it into such a big deal, and he wouldn't do it. And he was literally just doing nothing all day long. And he would either, like, sit in the bathroom and play on his phone, or, like, sit in the bathroom or draw and read. That's the one thing he did a lot. He would just go in our bathroom, the bathroom that him and I shared, and he'd sit in there for hours at a time, just, like, on his laptop or on his phone, just because he didn't have a room in our house. It's only 2 bedrooms, and I had a room and my mom had a room. So his bedroom was it was the kitchen, but we had it, like, a bunch of shelves, and we had things hanging up. So that was kind of his room, but it wasn't a real room. So I think he went into the bathroom to have his...
For privacy.
Yeah, privacy.
You've never known him to do drugs or anything, though? The only type of drugs that he wouldn't take are his behavioral medication.
Yeah, I think he mentioned to my mom that he smoked weed, like, once. And she was like, why do you do that? I was like, I don't know. But that was
a long time ago.
Yeah. No, I don't. He doesn't do drugs. Every once in a while, my mom would be like, I wonder if he does drugs, but I just don't think so.
And your mom worked every day?
Monday through Thursday. She had Fridays off. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Every once in a while, she would work on a Friday, but...
And how was he, when him and Mom went at it, how did he treat you? I mean, were you there, sometimes, or you just try to get away?
No, I would always, if it got out of hand, I would step in, because she would just let him, he would push her around so much, because I don't know, she's so soft, and she would let him push her. And I would sometimes step in, and I'm like, no, Nathan, that's not how it's going to happen. And when we were younger, he used to, like, threaten me, like he was going to punch me or whatever, but he never did. And I'm like, okay, punch me. You'll go to jail. And that was that. But I don't know.
So he never took it out on you or anything.
No,
Did
I
he
mean, we
respect
would have
you more, you think?
No, he
Not at all.
didn't really respect me at all. But I would get so angry because he would just take complete advantage of my mother, and that really made me so angry. So sometimes I would just like blow up, and I would just tell him like everything that was wrong and how he needed to step up or get out, and how he's not doing anything. He would try and get on my case, and like I have 2 jobs and going to school, and he would try and say something about anything just to piss me off.
What was his defense? I mean, he's not doing anything.
Yeah, I know. That's
so
why I was getting so angry.
What is his argument?
Does
he think he's not capable, or is he
No,
just not want to?
He just doesn't want to.
So he's more than capable.
Oh yeah, he can have a job. He worked at Walmart. He worked at Steak and Shake. He worked on a farm for some lady. And he doesn't do anything outside. Like what? I don't. He's perfectly fine. He's capable. He can drive a car. I mean, I don't know how good he is. I've never been in the vehicle, but he can have a job. I don't know. He's good with just like basic jobs. He was working at Walmart, like stocking produce. He was a dishwasher, so he can have just like a basic job. He didn't want college at all, but he was big into computers.
Right.
He wanted to be like, I don't know, somebody who fixed computers or made computers or something. I never really understood what he did, but he was really big into that. He wanted to do that as like a job, but we could never find anywhere around here that would help him.
Computer-based stuff.
Yeah.
Type of deal. When your mom would get so frustrated, though, as far as like trying to help him, what was her explanation of why she had to go so above and beyond?
So that he could have a life and he would be able to support himself one day, because he couldn't live there forever. And that's
so she knew he was capable of it
oh,
as
yeah,
well.
For
he was
sure.
just being lazy.
Yeah. She knew that he was capable, and he's really smart. He just doesn't apply himself to anything.
Gotcha. That's kind of, I gotta be honest, I mean, I sat down with him that night, probably about 40 minutes, just chatting. And he was very calm and very expressive, just talking about life and school and his computer and his games. And I mean, just, because it was my job to try to determine, because I realized what you had said before, he was autistic but you couldn't tell it, so I wanted to make sure that he understood everything I said. That's kind of where I was trying to head with that, with respect with what you guys had told me. And I just couldn't find any ailments or, I mean, I even asked him if he had any, handicaps of any sort. Is he on any medication? Nothing. I just couldn't find it. And that's one of the reasons, too, that I wanted to back up a ways and see where he was most affected. But he just seems pretty normal.
Yeah, anybody in school, they picked on him because they thought he was normal, but mentally things aren't right for him. And I can see it because I've grown up with him. Sure. But just weird things, like he shaves his hands and he won't, especially the animals, that's one of the big things. He won't pet them. He'll ball up his hands and kind of touch them with the outside of his hands, and that's one of his biggest things. He's
really?
And he washes his hands all the time, even when he doesn't need to. And he shaves part of his arms and his hands and stuff. And he's got these little ticks that you wouldn't notice.
As far as emotion, how does he
doesn't
compute that?
He's got a really hard time with showing emotion. He loved my mom. That was the only person that he really did love. And he wouldn't ever he didn't want to be touched or hugged or whatever, and so he had a weird way of showing emotion. If he wanted to just be close to my mom, he would just poke her. That was one of his real big things. And tickle her on the sides, or just poke her, or touch the back of her neck where her neck was numb because of her surgery. He would just do weird things like that. That was his showing of affection. Or just being close to her when we're watching TV, he would kind of be on the other side of the couch. But he didn't ever just blatantly, I love you, or give me a hug, or.
So you never seen him outwardly affectionate?
No, I mean, even on birthday cards, when he would write I love you, happy birthday, he wrote it super, super small.
So how did your mom show him affection?
She tried. She would try and give him hugs, and he'd be like, "Get off me." But she would show him affection, and she would show it in her own way, the ways that she knew how.
Right.
Like, when he really wanted to go out with his friends, she would just, like, she would give him money to go out with his friends and have a good time, and that was just really her way of showing that she loved him, because he wouldn't really let her. I mean, she like, every night, "Good night, Nathan. Good morning. Wake up." And just, she showed that she loved him by trying to get him going and motivated and to do things with his life and to be the best that he could be.
She seems so sweet. Oh my
The
gosh.
best.
Yeah, everybody that we've spoken to, it's just, she's probably one of the most giving and caring and
Definitely.
positive. Oh my gosh, so
I know.
positive.
She was hardly ever upset.
That's insane. It's just something we should all long for. So, obviously, okay, we've kind of touched on a lot of stuff. And obviously he knows the difference between right and wrong. Now just trying to get down to what the heck could have caused this. You've never seen anything like this before out of him. You've never seen any aggressive behavior.
When he was younger, Mom used to make him wash the dishes all the time, and occasionally, this was back when, and I used to bicker with him a lot. Like, when I was younger, probably like between 13 and 15 or 16, I used to just make like jabs at him really bad, because he used to just make me so angry, and I would start fights when I shouldn't have, and sometimes when he was like washing the dishes or whatever, he'd like pick up a knife, just like a butter knife or whatever, and he'd just like look at me like I didn't ever think that he would do anything.
Sure.
But
so maybe now that you've had time to look back, there may be a couple episodes where he may have thought.
Yeah, but
never.
Not in his right mind would he ever have done that. Never. He would make like open threats like that.
Sure.
I mean, what
Did your mom ever express anything like that? Like any changes in him lately?
No.
Or
lately she was just getting more and more frustrated with, especially with herself, because she didn't know what else to do. She had like just thought about everything, and she just didn't know what else to do. But she didn't ever like, in the past couple months, she didn't like start screaming at him all the time and just was so angry. She showed it by doing things, like kicking him out to the back porch.
Right. Did she consider making him go somewhere else?
Yeah, every once in a while, if she got really fed up, she'd like, "Get out, like right now, leave. Get in your car and go somewhere." And sometimes she would even like show up to like the library or like McDonald's and try and make sure he was safe, or Christian's house, just to drive by, see if his car is there. But yeah, every once in a while, but not more than for like a day, because she didn't want him out on the streets. She just couldn't bear that.
Yeah, she didn't seem like the type that would be able to.
No.
She couldn't just leave him hanging like that. It's not her nature. When was the last time you talked? You left at what, 8 or 10?
What day did
I think she left at around 8, right? Or did she have to be at work at 8?
what day was it? Wednesday?
Wednesday.
I had to be there at 9, I think. I had to be at work by noon that day, so I think I left at like 11:15.
Okay.
And while I was getting ready for work, Christian had picked him up, because I think his car keys were inside, and that day she had actually locked him out on the porch, so he couldn't get inside.
Mm-hmm.
So Christian had picked him up while I was getting ready for work.
Did you see them leave? Because there was some controversy whether he left with Christian that day. Or did you just assume they had left? Because you didn't see him anymore.
I mean, his car was still in the driveway and they were gone when I left for work.
Okay, so you didn't see him out on the back?
No.
And you say that the door was locked. Are you sure of that? Or
yeah, it was locked.
Okay.
Yeah, but I guess she would let him in when she got home from work.
What time does she normally get home?
Wednesday, I think, is her early day. She gets off at like 3:34.
And how far away does she work?
She works at the town center.
Okay, so she's there by 4:30 at the moment.
Yeah. Unless she's shopping like all the time, so honestly I have no idea what time she would have gone home. She might have gone food shopping, clothes shopping, she's always shopping.
Does she normally cook dinner for everybody?
Yeah, she normally, unless she doesn't feel like cooking. Then she gets like pizza or something.
Okay, so it wouldn't be uncommon for her to come home, fix something to eat.
Yeah.
I'm sure that day she probably seen that he didn't do anything, so she's probably aggravated.
Mm-hmm. And I think, I didn't read that last article on Flag Live, the really bad one, but I guess that they were arguing about her taking his car keys. I don't
remember the specifics of the car keys. I just know that, we had obviously saw the behavioral contract that was drawn up. It appears to be maybe drawn up by your mom and dad.
Yeah.
But it didn't, it looks sort of, I mean, to me it depicted, she's coming home, she's fixing something to eat for both of them because there was 2 bowls. And obviously she let the dogs go out that back door, right, though? So she would have had to open up that door to let the dogs out.
Well, no, unless she just ran through the front door and left it open. Because they're just in the house all the time.
As far as going through the back porch, though, the fenced enclosure area back there, does that get used or no?
No.
For the dogs? Okay.
Unless we're gone all day long, like visiting family or something, they don't ever go in there.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so when she lets them out to go to the bathroom,
they go through the garage to go to the bathroom. They stay in the backyard. It's not fenced in, but they stay.
Okay.
They go there in the back. But my one bigger dog, she's very protective. So if anything were happening, she was gonna be right there in the middle of it.
Yeah, I think she was.
Yeah.
Yeah, she acted like she normally would.
Yeah, and then Bean, he's the real afraid one who was inside.
I think, I don't know whether that one ever left or...
He was...
I don't know.
He was inside. Didn't somebody get him from...
Well, when I went to shut the door, I heard his feet. I heard his nails on the floor. So I shut the door real quick. I was like, the little one... Because at first he was missing. Or maybe he was hiding inside, I don't know. Nobody saw him.
Yeah, he tries to stay...
He went under your bed when I got there.
Yeah, he tries to stay with Bella. They're, like, attached to the hip.
And seeing she was outside.
Yeah.
Caught.
If there were... Yeah. If there are other people around, he won't go near her. But he'll just go where he knows where he's safe, which is the house.
Right. Okay, so that day you had to be at work at 12, so you probably left around 11. And you said your uncle was there when you left?
Yeah, I let him in just a couple minutes before I left because he was working on the floor because the fish tank overflowed. We had to rip up part of the floor. So he was working on that. I don't know what time he left.
And you didn't talk to your mom that day?
No, or maybe I did. I think she texted me and asked me if Nathan had left. Yeah, she said, everything okay there? I said, yeah, Christian just picked Nathan up.
What time was that?
10:45. Okay. She said, really, was he dressed for job hunting? I said, no, and now Greg's here. She said, okay, thanks. Have a great day at work. See you tonight.
And did Nathan have a phone, or did she take his phone?
Yeah, I think he had, I think he had just like this tiny little Go phone or whatever. Or phone.
That she could text him on, or?
Yeah, that she could text and call him on, but he didn't think that he could go on the internet. I don't know. She was so back and forth with the phones with him. Because she had, at one point when he had a job, she bought him a nice phone. And then he lost his job, so she gave him a crap phone. And then, I don't know, I think she took it away, or I don't know. I was gone a lot for work. So.
Did he have any other bad habits, or, I mean, I know he had a sexual preference difference, or what I think he's voicing his opinion on that. Introducing himself as transgender and stuff like that. How did that, is that just an attention seeking, or is that?
He liked to draw. He always wanted to draw. And he would always draw these, like, not like normal things, just like anime, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And he would always draw like super sexy anime girls. And he would watch the anime shows or whatever. And I think that he just wanted to be just like them. And he had such an unrealistic expectation for what he wanted to be like. I don't know, I just feel like he didn't feel like he was an attractive person, so if he looked like them, maybe he thought that he could be, but I don't really think that he was transgender. He didn't grow up wanting to be a girl. It was just kind of like in the past couple of years, he just showed signs that he wanted to, like, look like a girl.
When did he start expressing that?
I don't
or
know.
when did your mom talk about it?
3 years ago, maybe.
Oh, okay, so a while. Did she have a problem with any of that? I mean,
No, she wanted to, like, help him, but she wanted to make sure that that's what he really wanted. And I always was just like, I don't know, I feel like if you're transgender, you grow up knowing that you want to be the other sex. And I just feel like that's not how he was. He never really showed signs that, like, besides, like, shaving his arms in weird places, he just didn't really show that kind of stuff. He never had an interest in, like, makeup or, like, doing his hair. He did have long hair at one point.
Why did he cut his hair?
Because it had, like, this, apparently he had this giant mat in the back of his hair, and he just, instead of getting it out, he just told my mom to cut his hair.
So it was his request.
Yeah. Yeah, he said he was, like, gonna grow his hair out for, like, when he wanted to be a girl, but then he, like, I guess, and he used to brush it, like, every time he got out of the shower. So for him to have a mat in it just kind of, like, was weird to me, because he used to take care of his hair.
Right.
So, I don't know, maybe when he stopped taking care of his hair and wanted to cut it, maybe that signified that he was done with that phase. I don't know, that part always really confused me about him.
Was there anything recent that maybe your mom found out about, or any other bad habits or new discoveries?
He was stealing money from my mom. Just probably like a month or two ago, we started putting our purses in our room because he had started taking money from my mom's purse, maybe from mine, I don't know. He even started going in my mom's room, and my dad walked in on him one time, like ruffling through my mom's purse, trying to get money. So, but I don't know. My dad never confronted him. He just like, what are you doing, Nathan? But he didn't get really pissed like he normally would have. He was sober. And I think my mom said something to him, and he denied it a bunch or whatever. But he was taking money. But other than that,
that's it.
I think so.
So, no outwardly obvious signs of change.
He was getting fat.
He was getting fat.
Yeah, all his life he has had a super fast metabolism. Like, eat the worst junk food. Mom had to literally lock the cabinets because he was eating everything. Like, everything. She was spending so much money on food, and she was getting real tired of it. So she literally bought lock and chains, like padlocks, for the fridge and everywhere there was food that he could get. And she would lock it. And I knew the combination, my dad and my mom. But he wasn't allowed. I mean, she wasn't starving him. She would, like, leave out food that he could have for the day.
But he didn't have any medical issues. I mean, when's the last time he went to the doctor? Any ailments or anything? No, nothing that you're aware of?
He was supposed to go to a doctor's appointment. I think it was either doctors or counselors just a couple days before. And my mom had called me in the morning because I think his appointment, it was like 9:30 or 10 or whatever. And I woke up late. And he was in bed. And it was like after his appointment or whatever. And she called me, and she's like, did he go? And I'm like, he's laying in bed, so I don't think that he went. So she's like, okay, well, open up the door and see if he went. So I, like, open up the door, and I'm yelling at him to wake up or whatever. And I'm like, did you go? And he's like, yeah, I went. I'm like, well, what time did you get back? And he's like 15 minutes ago. And I was awake 15 minutes ago, and I didn't hear him, like, walk through the house. So I, like, told my mom, I was like, I'm pretty sure he's lying. So she called the doctor's office, and they're like, no, he didn't come in. So she was really mad about that.
So it's almost like he was becoming more defiant.
Oh, yeah.
Or has he always been that defiant? Or is it getting worse?
It was getting worse, yeah. And he just, like, straight up lied. And my mom confronted him that night. And she's like, well, did you go? And he's like, yeah. And and she's like, well, what'd you guys talk? Oh, I think it was a counselor, because she asked what they talked about. And he just, like, went on and on about this story that they, like, talked about. And she's like, Nathan, I know you didn't go.
Oh, my
He just kind of was like, he didn't really say anything. She's like, why? And he just, like, didn't have an answer.
Gosh. God, that's gotta be so frustrating.
It was very frustrating.
So, I mean, factoring all this in, I mean, obviously it is a little bit of a building tension because of the fact that he's getting older.
Yeah.
And he's an adult, and he should be out on his own. And
making his own money and providing for himself. Instead he was eating up all our money.
And your mom kind of probably, if she's any mother like me, it's like you battle with yourself because you don't want to be an enabler, but you can't stop taking care of your kid either.
Mm-hmm. That's why she was.
So, I mean, I'm sure she's trying to put her foot down a little bit.
Yeah, as much as she could, like, allow herself to do. She couldn't ever put him out on the street. That's just not something that she could do.
So what do you think was the final, when people ask you, and I know it's probably not happened directly, but I mean,
if he was not in his right mind. That's one thing that I know for sure. Something switched. Something, like, broke in his brain. And he just, all of his built up anger and rage, he just took it out on my mom. Everything that he'd been mad about, everything, it just broke. He had no control, I'm assuming. Because he never would have done that to my mom. He loved my mom.
Right. And that's one thing that we try to pass on, which is why we gather so much intel, ahead of time. As far as what the norm was, and what are the episodes. We're not psychiatrists, so we don't have the background on it, but we need to at least gather the intel for them to run it by a psychiatrist. But is that the way it happens? Do they just snap and then snap out of it? Or because, obviously when we got with him that night, he was full information. When you tell the stories about him just lying bold-faced and not even thinking twice about it, that's kind of the way he was with us, because he was leading us to believe, giving us descriptions of a suspect. Yeah. He blamed your dad. He even gave excuses. I don't think it can be your dad. No, he's probably changed his shirt. He's probably got a bloody shirt in his truck. Hence why I had to search your dad's truck.
Because he knows my dad always has, like, extra clothes in his truck.
So we had to cover all bases that night because he was adamant, that...
I know. He's not usually, like that, where he makes up... Besides the counseling thing that he didn't go to, he's not usually, like, just straight up lies about that kind of stuff. Doesn't make up whole stories.
Well, he finally said that he was scared to go to jail. That's...
Yeah.
He said...
I don't trust his friend Christian. Honestly, I think that his friend Christian had a really big influence, probably, on what Nathan said to you guys.
Really?
Yeah. I don't like Christian, and I just don't trust him in any way. And Christian has had a history with law enforcement and things that he shouldn't have done.
But your mom testified. I remember that case. Your mom testified on his behalf in the sentencing portion. Well, your mom and dad both, actually.
I know, and my dad talked to me, and he said that he definitely regretted it. Because he just... Now that he...
Yeah, I remember that. I was working here when they had that case, so...
My dad told me that, they asked my dad if he was, worried about Christian doing anything to me, and he said no. That was what he said no to, because he knew that I would beat Christian's ass if Christian tried to even come near me, and then my dad would, like... Not actually kill him, but he would kill him. And so that was what he was saying no about, but he didn't... I don't know, I just don't trust Christian. He has always been so incredibly rude, even to my mom.
Really?
Yeah, because it's everything going on with my brother and his computers and laptops and things being taken away. Christian always had some say in it, like legal say, even though I'm sure he knew nothing. But he's like, oh, your mom can't do that, and when my mom was going to kick him out, your mom can't do that, she needs 30 days, and blah, blah, blah. And he always had something to say. He's just... a couple times he has been so incredibly rude to my mom that we didn't allow him at the house for like 2.5 years.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And he just has this, even if you talk to like Nathan's other friends that he used to have, they're not friends with him anymore because he's still friends with Christian. Gotcha. And they say that Christian has had this like weird influence over Nathan in the way that he's like does things and the way he acts. So I would have no doubt that Christian told Nathan to lie to you guys. And that Christian, like, made up this story. Because Christian really hates my dad. Because my dad, at one point, like, freaked out on Christian for being rude to my mom. And being incredibly disrespectful. So, I wouldn't doubt it.
I forget who told me that's why I was trying to keep you guys from not running into each other when you were here. Because I wasn't sure. Somebody told me that.
Yeah.
That your dad didn't get along with him.
No. I used to hang out, Nathan and I used to go over Christian's house when I was like real little, like maybe 12, but I only went over there like a couple times and then he started to like freak me out. But I never knew anything. I just until like a week ago when my dad told me about the rape cases, I didn't know anything about those.
Yeah. I mean, we've got a lot of those, unfortunately. So, to your knowledge, you didn't see it come. You didn't see any major changes in him up until that. It's just the normal battles, the normal discussions of trying to get him motivated. Tension got a little bit more because obviously he wasn't trying as much. I would imagine he didn't try at all in the beginning, probably. But your mom didn't express any other episodes, anything out of the norm prior to that you remember? Any acts of violence towards anybody else, the animals, anything like that?
No.
She was encouraging him to go to counseling towards the later part. What was that specifically for? Do you know?
Just so that he could like talk to somebody, because he wouldn't really talk to my mom. So she wanted him to talk to somebody and maybe find out like what's going on in his head.
Okay.
But he just wouldn't go.
And he's been to counselors before,
yeah,
right?
He has. He used to go with my mom, and sometimes they would go like together, and then sometimes they would go separately. But yeah, he used to go. I think even one time my mom forced me to go. I didn't want to go. She told me I wouldn't be allowed to go to a horse show if I didn't, so I did.
So you do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Did it seem to help him in the earlier?
Honestly,
episodes?
yeah, I think it did. I don't really know. I think maybe our insurance changed or something, and then we stopped going to that one person. Or, I don't know. I don't really know.
And when she was local, who was the first counselor? I don't remember.
I don't keep track. Because she was like always
when
changing.
You were forced to go, it didn't traumatize you for life.
She was always changing counselors because I think at one time somebody was like rude to her. She didn't like them. And so she was like bouncing around to different counselors. She did like the last lady, Deborah. I don't remember her last name. She called me. She's going to her service.
Did you talk to the one I gave you? That was her, right, though? Wasn't Deb?
Yeah.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. You talked to her?
Yeah.
She seemed really sweet. She was like,
she was really
so devastated. I didn't know if things had changed, why she was very adamant. Because I think even Christian said that your mom had came by his house.
Yeah.
To say, are you going? And he was like, yeah, no, I'm not going. So I didn't know if something had happened.
And I think after she went to Christian's, she went to her brother's house, which is like right down the road, to talk to him about everything because she didn't really know what else to do. And I wasn't home and my dad wasn't there, so he was the closest one.
Yeah, what's the repercussions for not going to counseling? I mean, what's your next step, you know? It's like you can only do so much. Is there anything else you think of that we should know?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think that he should go to some sort of mental institution. Because I know for a fact he won't survive prison. He won't. He won't want to survive prison.
Have you ever thought of what would happen if he would have been there?
All the time. I kind of wish I was there.
But you also realize it could have been you and not your mom, and then your mom would have just been absolutely... I couldn't even imagine that as a mom.
Yeah. But I feel like maybe I was there, I could fight him off, or things would be different. She would only be hurt, not dead. Glad every day.
Well, as much as we wish we could do something different too, we'll do everything in our power from this point forward to at least, you know... I mean, obviously we have a case to work, but as I expressed to you in the very beginning, we're humans, you know, we're not just law enforcement with no heart. And the state's driving the bus, though, you know that.
Do you think that they'll try and get him into a mental place?
It's hard for me to express at that point. I mean, you're going to factor in the way the state works. They factor in every piece of the puzzle, you know. He just seems... You know, and like I said, if it were me, I mean, I would want to know how those episodes work, you know, because he took steps before he even got to Christians. I know you say Christian played a big role in what he said. He took steps before he got to Christians
like what?
To cover his crime. So he knew what he was doing. You know, certain placements of stuff. to make it look like a crime had been committed. So in his mind, he
That
was
just
already
doesn't seem like him at all.
and
He's not like super logical about that kind of stuff. When I was younger, I used to think that he did certain things to just like make me mad or to do things, but that was not the case. He just did them because that's what he does, and he just didn't think about that kind of stuff. He wasn't, I don't know, he just didn't think things through. So for him to do that, really kind of like, I don't understand that. That's just like not.
And I think
he
had a little bit of time where, I mean, just for me seeing how everything unfolded, I could totally see. Have you ever had like something happen to you and you just kind of feel like you're on the outside looking in almost because it's just so unreal? It seems like maybe, I mean, he got caught up in that, but then he had a moment to adjust. It appears to me he had time in between, and that's when he, he's looking at it like, oh crap, now what? Look what I've done, or it is what it appears to me.
I just don't know how.
But that's when he took the steps to make it look like something else.
I feel like he would just, the type of person that he is, he would have like freaked out and just called 911. Yeah.
Something, yeah. I agree.
It blows my mind that he was able to do all that.
And to stay focused and give repetitive
and get in a car and drive.
Doesn't seem.
No, that's.
Even, I know. We try to understand it, but then again, I mean, I can't. I can only go with what exactly happened, and then just try to make sense of it afterwards.
I don't know.
And that's not just solely me. That's gonna have to be, specialists and stuff. But I mean, the end of the day, at least we're not, dealing with an unsolved issue, and we have time to. Now we just have to pick up the pieces and just move forward and create a new norm, because you'll never get closure or anything, because obviously you're going to be drugged through this. But anything that you think or want to add later? I mean, I know your dad's kind of taken, I think, a protective role.
Yeah,
probably.
He's really trying. He's got all my brother's medical files from like the day he was born, and he's been meeting with somebody to try and get him into mental. But he saw my brother. I don't know if you know. Through
I heard
video chatter.
I was out of town, but I heard that he was going to go see him.
He didn't say much, but he said he's never seen anybody so devastated. And he said that my brother told my dad that he loved him. I have never heard my brother say that to my dad.
Right.
So that just...
And that's why I wanted to make sure I covered it with you in the beginning if he showed any signs of affection or anything like that in the past, because when he finally came out with the truth, he was a mess.
I bet.
So
to hold that in is a lot.
Exactly. But is that, when you hold stuff in like that and you're sticking with a lie, you're doing it consciously. You know what I mean? But then when you finally release it just off your shoulders, he can finally then grieve and take responsibility for his actions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he was super, super, super emotional at that point. That's why I was wondering what the norm was with him. With emotions and...
I know he has emotions, but he balls them up and he holds them. So, and it doesn't surprise me that he broke. And he just let everything out.
Right. And at first, I think he unfortunately broke with just anger and frustration, and then he broke with remorse. And I don't know how you guys are going to just be... You're stuck in the middle, and it's just frustrating because the state obviously is going to be meeting with you guys on coming to a... I mean, it's kind of good because then you guys can have such a major input to come to an agreement and a conclusion. And we will do everything we can. It's going to ultimately be up to them, but you still have your voice,
Yeah. I want to see him, but I don't want to see him, so I don't really know what I want to do with that yet.
I know, it's so difficult, too, because everything's on video, and it's just so unpersonal.
I don't know, my dad said that the lawyer or whatever told my brother, like, not to say anything, but he said a lot. That's what my dad said, but he hasn't told me what really yet.
So you and your dad just kind of...
My dad, the first couple days, he was, like, crawled into a bottle. And then finally, he just, like, within the first couple days, I was meeting up with Yvette, my mom's sister, a bunch. And I was over there, and her brother was down, and both her brothers were there. We had some other family, and we were all meeting up to try and talk about the service and try and get things moving. And he shows up like 2 hours late. He had been at the house all day, my house. And he was supposed to be cleaning it up with Artie and the cleaning crew. But the cleaning crew wasn't there, so he gets there, and he has like my mom's blood on his face, and I'm like... And he's wasted. He's drunk.
Oh, jeez.
And so he just starts like arguing with me, and he's like, "How dare you start the stuff without me?" And I'm like, we didn't do anything. Like, I found a company because I know the people who own it or used to own it, and that was it. We haven't even called them yet. And he's just like yelling at me, and at one point he grabbed my arm, and I just like tore away from him, and like, "Don't you ever touch me." And I just walked out of there, and my cousin came out, and I'm like, tell him when he starts acting like a father that we can talk, and tell him to wipe my mom's blood off his face. And I left. And he was in the bottle for the next couple days, and then finally he like calls me, or he called me that night, and because he had my clothes that I needed, because I was, for like 2 days I was wearing the same clothes. And he's like, "Come get your clothes, come meet me." And I'm like, "I don't want to see you right now. Can you take them to Cheryl's house, which is right down the road?"
Right.
He's like, "No, you can come get them. Come get them from the house." I'm like, "I don't want to go to the house." He's like, "Okay." And so he's like yelling at me, and I hang up on him. 5 minutes later, calls him back, "Come get your stuff from the house." "I don't want to go to the house." I'm like, "Don't you get that?" So he stayed at the house that night. And my uncle went there the next day to go get my stuff. And that's when they found out that the house wasn't clean, and he's walking around the house in his bare feet.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that's when I had to go over there, and we called the cops, and I had the trespassing thing. I signed the trespassing notice.
And have you guys talked after that?
Yeah, after that, that night, he went back up there, and then he, like, called me on the phone. He, like, started to apologize, and I'm like, "You crawled into a bottle and when I needed you most." And he's like, yeah. And then he just started arguing again, like, "Let me back in the house." And I just kept hanging up on him. Mm-hmm. And then Brendan, Greg, my mom's, like, best friend from a long time ago, she drove down in their RV, and he had been staying with them for a while they were here. And he sobered up, and they worked on a lot of the stuff for the service. And then he went back up to St. Augustine on Sunday night. And then I talked to him on Monday, and I'm pretty sure he's drinking again.
Ugh.
And he just like kept calling me, and I'm like I'm being with the family that I'm staying with, and we were at the pool with a bunch of people, and I'm just trying to have like a nice relaxing day, and he just keeps calling me, like, "What are you doing?" "I just told you what I'm doing." And then he's like blowing up my phone, and I asked him to email me pictures so that I could get them on a slideshow. And he texts me with them one by one. I had like 100 text messages, and he just keeps calling me, and I'm like, stop it.
So now you gotta get through the service. Hopefully he comes somewhat sober.
I think that he will. And we put everything legal on hold, because as soon as he finds out that he's not getting the house and the vehicles and all the money, it's just going to put a wall between us. So I figured I might as well wait until the service. That way it won't be bad at the service. Right. Because there's a will, and she wrote this from 2001 when they were still married. And she wrote, "My husband gets this, my husband gets that, my husband gets this." But they're divorced now, so that kind of like nullifies things. And she was in the process of making a new will, so I'm fighting like all of that. And,
oh man.
Yeah, because she didn't want him to have the house.
No.
She bought him out. I mean, he like kind of helped pay for it when he did have a job. So she like in the past like year and a half, she's given him like $22,000. She like wrote receipts down and made him sign it, and she signed it and copied the checks and all that. So
that's proof there too that she's obviously keeping things separate.
Yeah.
And keeping track. So.
Mhm. So she didn't want him. She was just kind of like breaking everything off, money, everything. She had her own bank account, and I think he's trying to get everything. Because when he was in the house, he took a bunch of paperwork. He grabbed the will.
He thinks it's still accurate or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's probably gonna have somebody fight that too.
I don't know, but Florida law or whatever. And I don't even think he turned in the original, and I think you have to do that within like 10 days or something. But no, I'm gonna fight it. And my lawyers are like, yeah, you're gonna get all of this stuff. I mean, I'll help my dad out because he doesn't have a job, but I'm not. My mom supported him. He didn't have a job for a long time, so she was like paying his rent on his house, and he was living with us, and he just like wasn't really trying to get a job either. And that's another thing that she was tired of. That's one of the main reasons why she kicked him out, because she can't deal with that.
Yeah. How is she supposed to enforce it on one side and lead by example, and you're not getting a job either?
My mom and I were the only people providing for the household.
You definitely are your mother. That's the one blessing.
Yeah, I'm thankful.
Without a doubt. Alright, well, I don't want to keep you too much longer. I just have to officially go through, your timeline that day. And obviously I saw you when you showed up. You had just gotten off at work when?
I think I got up at like 8:15 that day. Oh, do you know anything? I want Flag the Live shut down.
We battle with them all the time. It's horrible.
Is there any way, is it legal that they posted something about the death of my mother before the family was notified? Because if I was on Facebook at work and saw that my mother
We've had it happen.
That's basically how I found out. Cheryl was on Facebook and saw it and called me. So.
I know that it gets very tricky with those laws. And I know they have the right to our records to a degree. So I don't know the timing. I know that he's showed up on accident scenes and taken pictures of people's vehicles prior to us even getting notification done and posted them. There's certain stuff like that.
Yeah, like my address was out there.
I mean, he could have been on scene because he listens to the medical side of the radios, which we've at least kept the law enforcement radios from them. They're not public, but unfortunately they can monitor the medical. So he could have easily taken a picture of the house. And
my house was on there, my address was on there, the homeowner was on there. All of that was on there.
And see, and that's the stuff he does, which is all public record. So that's where he finds those loopholes and does kind of almost his own investigation. And they're all protected by...
He's posting that my brother has no medical history. That's completely wrong. Do you know how many doctors he's seen?
There is a lot of false information that I've seen.
And I'm not,
so
on my Facebook, so many of my friends want him shut down. It's unbelievable. And I'm going to try and fight it best I can. And I know Artie really hates him, a lot.
I know. We have, people that are really big in the community, too, that have been personally affected. Mm-hmm. Take our captain for the fire department. Lane Burnson's dad.
Yeah.
I know that he had an incident very similar. Same thing, though. It's brutal. But if I can think of anything or if I can see any flaws, I will definitely let you know.
And then my dad has been, today, especially on the way over here, he's like, you need to have that trespassing thing lifted. And I don't know if I want to do that yet because of everything, the conflict with the lawyers and the will and all that. But he's saying it's because he wants to be there in case the hurricane hits, because my cats are still there, and if anything happens to the house, he can be there. So I don't know, I just kind of wanted your opinion on what I should do.
I think until everything is settled, I think you would probably be more comfortable. You have resources to check on things. I don't think the wind damage is supposed to be... how did you guys do with the last one?
A tree fell on my truck. Fell in the bed of my truck. But I don't know. If this is going to be a Category 5, I have no idea. There are a bunch of trees surrounding our house. So, tall pine trees.
If that would make you feel more comfortable, then so be it.
But his house in San Augustine, they evacuated him right away for the last hurricane.
Yeah, he's too close to the...
Yeah, and it's an old house. So I don't really know. Maybe I'll wait another couple days. to see if the hurricane's really gonna hit or not.
If he's not working or anything, why can't he go start working on some of the trees?
Well, the trees are fine. He's just worried if they do fall.
You can always trespass him again.
I know.
If you invite him in, it avoids it, obviously. But if there's another act of harassment or something, that would support you for doing it again.
I know. My uncle just thinks it's not a good idea.
Crap you shouldn't have to deal with is what it is. It's just ridiculous.
My dad was like, I have no motives to stay there, but I think that I should be there for the hurricane. And
yeah, and that's when you gotta worry about that. You invite him in and let him stay there, and then he can
I know.
use that against you.
So I have.
Who's close to you? Isn't somebody close to you though?
Yeah, Greg is there, but I don't want the cats to be there alone for the hurricane. He's allergic to cats. I mean, he said that he would take them, but like, I don't know. I guess we could just leave the house fine, empty. My dad was like, well, if there's like a hole and it starts leaking through the roof, then I can patch it. I'm like, well, it's a brand new roof. So, I don't know. I'm just
Animals are pretty defiant. It's pretty good. I'd say I take them. I live in a trailer, so I'm a sitting duck.
Oh.
I've got like 6
Our
dogs
family.
and tons of.
Our family left because they're in an RV